Where have they gone? Farhad gasped. Let's have a closer look, suggested Sandstorm, already trotting toward the place where the Shadow Clan cats had disappeared. Farhad hurried after her. As they neared the patch of grass that had swallowed up the black tail, he noticed a shadow where the earth had dipped away sharply into a hollow beside the thunderpath. It was the entrance to a stone tunnel that led under the thunderpath like the one he'd used with Greystripe on our journey to find Windclam. Sandstorm's pelt brushed against him as they crept down the slope and cautiously sniffed the gloomy entrance. Farhad felt the rush of wind on his ears from the monsters roaring past above, but as well as the stench of the thunderpath, he could smell the fresh scents of the Shadow Clan cats. They had definitely come this way. The tunnel was perfectly round, lined with pale green stone about the height of two cats. The moss that grew halfway up the smooth sides told Fireheart that the tunnel ran with the water during leaf there. Now it was dry, the bottom littered with leaves and too light rubbish. "Have you heard of this place before?" asked Sandstorm. Fireheart shook his head. "It must be how Shadow Clan crosses to get to Four Trees." "A lot easier than dodging monsters," commented Sandstorm. "No wonder Little Cloud wanted to be left alone to cross the Thunder Path. This tunnel is a secret Shadow Clan would want to keep for themselves. Let's get back to camp and tell Bluestar." Fireheart dashed up the slope and back into the forest, glancing over his shoulder to make sure Sandstorm was with him. She came charging after him, and the two cats headed home. As they crossed the scent line, Fireheart felt the familiar relief of being back in the safety of ThunderClan territory. Although, after hearing Little Cloud's news about the sickness in ShadowClan, he doubted if the rival clan was in a fit state to keep up their border patrols anyway. Bluestar! Harder than ever and breathless after the run, Fireheart went straight to Bluestar's den. "Yes?" came the answer through the lichen. Fireheart pushed his way in. The ThunderClan leader was lying in her nest with paws tucked neatly under her chest. "We found a tunnel just inside ShadowClan territory," he told her. "It leads under the Thunderpath." "I hope you didn't follow it," growled Bluestar. Fireheart hesitated. He had expected his leader to be excited by the discovery. Instead, her tone was harsh and accusing. No, we didn't," he stammered. "You took too much risk entering their territory at all. We don't want to antagonize ShadowClan." "If ShadowClan is as weak as the warriors said, I don't think they'd do anything about it," he pointed out. The Bluestar stared past him, apparently busy with her own thoughts. "Have those two cats gone?" she asked. "Yes, they went through the tunnel. That's how we found it," Fireheart explained. "I see." Fireheart searched the ThunderClan leader's eyes for some hint of compassion. Didn't she care about the sickness in ShadowClan at all? "Did we do the right thing, sending them back?" Couldn't help asking. "Of course," snapped Bluestar. "We don't want sickness in the camp again." "No, we don't," Fireheart agreed heavily. As he turned to leave, Bluestar added, "Don't tell anyone about the tunnel yet." "Okay," Fireheart promised, slipping through the lichen. He wondered why Bluestar wanted to keep the tunnel a secret. After all, he had uncovered a weakness in ShadowClan's border that could become a strength for ThunderClan. Not that he felt ShadowClan deserved any sort of attack at the moment, but surely a better knowledge of the forest could only be a good thing. Fireheart's eye as Sandstorm dashed up to him. "What did she say? Was she pleased we found the tunnel?" she demanded. Fireheart shook his head. "She told me to keep it a secret." "Why?" Sandstorm meowed in surprise. Fireheart shrugged and kept going toward his den. Sandstorm trotted after him. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Is it Bluestar? Did she say anything else?" Fireheart realized he was giving away too much of his anxiety about the ThunderClan leader. He bent to give his chest a quick lick, then lifted his head and meowed with forced brightness. "I must go. I promised I'd take Cloudpaw hunting this afternoon." "Do you want me to come with you?" Sandstorm's eyes looked concerned, and she added, "It'll be fun. We haven't been hunting together for ages." She nodded toward the apprentice den where Cloudpaw was dozing in the sunshine. The apprentice's plump, furry belly rose and fell as he breathed. "He certainly needs the exercise," she added. "He's beginning to look like Willowpelt." She purred with amusement. "He must be quite a hunter. I don't think I've ever seen a clan cat that fat." There was no spite in Sandstorm's words, but Fireheart felt his fur growing hot. Cloudpaw did look fat for such a young cat, much fatter than the other apprentices, even though they were all enjoying the plentiful prey of Greenleaf. "I think I should take Cloudpaw by myself," he meowed reluctantly. "I've been neglecting him a bit lately. Could we go out together another time?" "Just let me know when," Sandstorm responded cheerfully. "I'll be there. I could get us another rabbit." Fire saw mischief flash in her pale green eyes, and he knew she was referring to the time they had hunted together in the snowbound forest that shimmered with frost, when she had surprised him with her speed and skill. "Unless you've finally learned how to catch them for yourself," Sandstorm teased, flicking Fireheart's cheek with her tail as she trotted away. Watching her go, Fireheart felt a strange, happy prickling in his paws. He shook his head and patted over to Cloudpaw. The sleepy apprentice arched his back and stretched, his short legs quivering with the effort. "Have you been out of camp today?" Fireheart asked. No, answered Cloudpaw. Well, we're going hunting, Firehart informed him curtly. He felt ruffled by the way Cloudpaw seemed to think he could just lie and enjoy the sunshine. He must be hungry. Not really, replied Cloudpaw. Firehart felt puzzled. Had Cloudpaw been stealing from the fresh kill pile? Apprentices were not allowed to take food until they had hunted for the elders, or gone training with their mentors. Firehart dismissed the thought instantly. The apprentice couldn't have managed it without one of the clan seeing him. Well, if you're not hungry, we'll start in the training hollow for some fighting practice, he meowed. We can hunt afterward. Without giving the young cat a chance to object, Firehart raced out of the camp. He heard Cloudpaw's paw steps thumping after him, but he didn't look back or slow his pace until he reached the sheltered hollow where he had trained as an apprentice. He stopped in the middle of the sandy clearing. The air was so still that even in the shades, the midday heat felt stifling. Attack me, he ordered, as Cloudpaw scrambled down the slope to join him, his paws sending up puffs of red dust that clung to his long white fur. Cloudpaw stared at him, wrinkling his nose. What? Just like that? Yes, replied Firehart. Pretend that I'm an enemy warrior. Okay. Cloudpaw shrugged and began racing half-heartedly toward him. His round belly slowed him down, making his small paws sink deep into the sand. Firehart had plenty of time to prepare himself so that when Cloudpaw finally reached him, it was easy to dodge to one side and send the young apprentice rolling into the dust. Cloudpaw clambered to his paws and shook himself, sneezing as the dust tickled his nostrils. Too slow, Firehart told him. Try again. Cloudpaw crouched down, breathing hard, and narrowed his eyes. Firehart stared back, impressed by the intensity of Cloudpaw's gaze. This time the apprentice looked as if he were actually thinking about the attack. Cloudpaw leapt and flew at Firehart, twisting as he landed so that he could kick Firehart with his hind legs. Firehart staggered but managed to keep his balance and sent Cloudpaw flying with a swipe from his front paws. Better, he puffed, but you're not prepared for the counter-strike. Cloudpaw lay unmoving in the sand. Cloudpaw, Firehart meowed. The blow from his front paw had been heavy, but surely not enough to hurt. The apprentice's ear twitched, but he stayed where he was. Firehart padded over to him, his fur suddenly prickling with worry. He peered down and saw that Cloudpaw's eyes were wide open. You've killed me, the apprentice gasped, mockingly, and rolled feebly onto his back. Firehart snorted. Stop messing around, he snapped. This is serious. Okay, okay. Cloudpaw struggled to his paws, still panting. But I'm hungry now. Can we go hunting? Firehart opened his mouth to argue. Then he remembered Whitestorm's words. He'll learn when he's ready. Perhaps it was better to let Cloudpaw train at his own pace after all. So far arguing had been a complete waste of time. Come on then, Firehart sighed, and led Cloudpaw out of the training hollow. As they trekked along the bottom of the ravine into the forest, Cloudpaw stopped and sniffed the air. I smell rabbit, he mused. Firehart lifted at his nose. The apprentice was right. Over there, whispered Cloudpaw. A bright flicker in the bushes betrayed the white tail of the young rabbit. Firehart dropped low against the ground. He tensed his muscles, ready to give chase. Beside him, Cloudpaw dropped too, his belly bulging out sideways as he crouched. The rabbit's tail flickered again, and Cloudpaw dashed toward it, his paws thudding heavily on the dry forest. The rabbit heard the noise at once and shot away into the undergrowth. Cloudpaw crashed after it while Firehart followed on silent paws. The ferns trembled where Cloudpaw had charged through them, and Firehart felt a stab of disappointment as Cloudpaw skidded, panting to a halt ahead of him. The rabbit had disappeared. You hunted better than that when you were a kit, Firehart exclaimed. His sister's kit had once had the makings of a fine warrior, but the fluffy white apprentice seemed to be training as a soft kitty pet. Only StarClan knows how you got fat with a hunting technique like that. Even a fit cat can't outrun a rabbit. You need to be much lighter on your paws if you want to catch one. He was thankful Sandstorm hadn't come with them. He would have been embarrassed if she had seen what a poor hunter his apprentice had become. For once, Cloudpaw didn't argue. Sorry, he muttered. Barrett felt a pang of sympathy for the young cat. It did look as if Cloudpaw had been trying his best this time, and he couldn't help feeling that he'd let his apprentice down by neglecting his training lately. Why don't I just go hunting by myself, Cloudpaw suggested, looking down at his paws. I promise I'll bring something back for the fresh kill pile. Pirate studied him for a moment. Cloudpaw couldn't be such a poor hunter all the time, because he was looking more well-fed than any of the cats in the clan. Perhaps he fared better when he wasn't being watched. In a flash, Firehart decided to follow his apprentice, without him knowing, and watch him hunt. That's a good idea, he agreed. Just make sure you're back by mealtime. Cloudpaw brightened instantly. Of course, he meowed. I won't be late, I promise. Firehart heard the apprentice's belly growl with hunger. Perhaps that will sharpen his skills, he thought. As he listened to Cloudpaw's paw steps fade away into the forest, he felt a flicker of guilt at the thought of spying on him. But he was only going to assess his apprentice's skills, he reminded himself, as any mentor would. Tracking Cloudpaw through tall pines was easy. The undergrowth was sparse beneath the shade of the towering pine trees, and Fireheart could see his apprentice's snowy pelt from a long way off. The woods here were alive with small birds, and he kept expecting Cloudpaw to stop and take advantage of the rich offerings. But Cloudpaw didn't stop. He carried on at a surprisingly swift pace considering the size of his belly, out of tall pines and into the oak forest that backed on the two-leg place. Fireheart felt an ominous prickle in his paws. Keeping low, he sped up so he didn't lose sight of Cloudpaw in the thick undergrowth. Then the trees thinned out and Fireheart caught a glimpse of the fences that bordered the two-leg gardens up ahead. Was Cloudpaw going to visit his mother princess? Her two-leg nest was near here. He couldn't blame Cloudpaw for wanting to see her from time to time. He was still young enough to remember her warm scent. But why hadn't Cloudpaw mentioned Princess to Fireheart before now? And why did he say he was going hunting if he was going to visit his mother? Surely he knew that Fireheart of all the clan would understand. Fireheart's confusion grew as Cloudpaw turned away from Princess's fence and followed the line of two-leg nests until Princess's home was far behind them. The apprentice padded steadily onward, even ignoring a fresh mouse scent across his path, until he reached a silver birch that stretched up beside a pale green garden fence. The small white cat heaved himself up the trunk of the birch and clambered on top of the fence, swaying as his belly dragged him off balance. Fireheart remembered Dustpelt's jibe and winced. Perhaps garden birds were more to Cloudpaw's taste after all, but he would have to tell Cloudpaw that clan cats didn't hunt in Two-Leg Place. Starclan had given them the forest to provide their food. Cloudpaw jumped down to the other side of the fence. Fireheart quickly scrambled up the birch, thankful that it was in full leaf as he sheltered behind its fluttering leaves. Below, he could see Cloudpaw trotting across the carefully clipped grass, his tail and chin high. A sense of foreboding flowed through Fireheart as Cloudpaw ran straight past a small gang of starlings. The birds scattered upward in a flurry of wings. Cloudpaw didn't even turn his head. Fireheart felt his blood begin to pound in his ears. If Cloudpaw hadn't come to hunt garden birds, then what was he doing here? Then he froze with horror as he watched Cloudpaw sit down outside the two-leg nest and let out a shrill, pitiful wail.